So team, welcome to the day one for the new QTP batch. This is the September 22nd training batch for the basic and advanced QTP. Thank you for being here. And before I get started, very quick introduction about the go-to training tool that you are all participating. Each of you have been muted. You are either listening to me using your headset or your telephone. So at the moment, I have muted everyone and I'm the one speaking. As the session progresses and you're unable to hear me, you can raise your hand or you try and follow this process that is displayed here. Since there is a large participation, I will not be able to take a constant look at your chat messages, and you need to follow the instructions that you're seeing here to be able to help yourself with the audio, just in case you cannot hear me. If you used your telephone, then make sure that you enter the PIN on the telephone to be able to have the option to speak if needed at a later point. As the session progresses, team, you can use your hand icon in the go-to training to raise your hand and say that, hey, listen, I have a question. Can you take the question? The most preferred way to ask a question would be to put it in the chat initially, and then if it's still not clear if I can understand what you're saying, then I can have you unmuted, you can speak your question. But the first option would be to use the chat, which is inbuilt within the go-to training. All right, team, having said that, welcome to this, the day one session. My focus is thoroughly going to be on learning HP Quick Test Professional as a tool. So I'm not going to spend any time around the training, what it is and so on. But basically, you can always go to qtpelearn.com to look at what the course content is, the different details and everything about it. If you have a question, feel free to write to sales.elearn@gmail.com and one of us will be able to help you out. All right. So team, one of the things that you will get as part of the whole training program is either you are attending these live sessions as they happen, but each of you will definitely have the access to the recorded version of every live class that will happen going forward in this batch for all the confirmed participants, and all these videos are going to be hosted in a specific folder which you'll be given access to later in screencast. Now, if you just go to this URL, you won't find any videos there. You have to be provided access. So in this, you will see there are lots of videos. There are class scripts on various batches that have happened of late. And there are also different pre-recorded videos. Some are on VB Basics, data-driven framework, arrays, keyword-driven, hybrid, question and answer sessions, and basically last class about interviews and how to handle projects. Then there are other topics like on each of them, like actions, automation object model, everything. So almost all the topics are covered. In total, team, we will have close to about 15 to 17 live sessions, which is the focus of VB scripting and automation frameworks. And then you have to combine these, whatever we do, along with some of these pre-recorded topics. Around 30 to 35 sessions in total would complete the entire training package. So even if you're attending live, there are some pre-recorded videos that you need to watch. When to watch as the day progresses, as the sessions happen, I will keep guiding you further on them. All right. Now, having said this, team, all this will be part of your welcome pack when once your confirmation is through and you've joined. Now, at the moment, let's get started very quickly with learning HP Quick Test Professional. All right, no more theory about anything else around this area. So here is what I'm going to do, team. I'm going to launch up QTP at the background and let it take some time. Each of you will be provided with a trial version link that you could download for QTP 10. You could either use QTP 10 or QTP 11. Either one is fine. Any questions regarding what to do with when you face challenges and all that, you will be part of a private Google group. There are already about 900 members in the last 1.5 to 2 years who have attended this training program, already members in there. It's a highly interactive community. You will be part of it. Your questions will get answered through that channel. All right. So there's a lot of material, ebooks, content, interview questions, and there's a whole plethora of information that you could find in that group. So, sorry, I muted myself for a second. So basically, team, I do not wish to talk about QTP on a theoretical level as a tool, what it does, what features it has, and so on. I do not believe in definitions. I do not believe in theory. I believe in trying to learn things in a very practical manner. So here is the way we're going to start. I want to take an application, show you that application, and say how is it that we do manual testing to start with, and then why QTP, how does it help us better do our testing job, and why is it so much in demand today in the market. All right. So let's jump straight into it. What I'm going to do for this session as an example is I've prepared a very brief plan on an application called Edmunds.com. This is a more like a auto loan company, and you would see a lot of features in there which we could evaluate, right? So let's assume for a second that you have joined a new testing opportunity you've taken up, and you are now working for a company which is called Edmunds.com. You are now part of a group or a sub-team within Edmunds which is specifically focusing on the calculator tools, which is constantly building it, customizing it, enhancing the features for it, making it more customer friendly. So this application constantly goes through changes every time. So very important, as part of the changes that the development team makes on the applications that you're part of, is to test that every time something happens on the application as a change, if the functionality of the application is correct, in the sense that what is expected out of every specific functionality or a module. For example, auto calculators is a module within Edmunds. Is it working correctly? So what do I mean? What I mean is, let's say that a user comes in, and this is how we are looking at it as a manual testers, and says that he or she would like to see what is to be done to find out what is their ideal price range for buying a car, depending on what they could afford. Okay, let's talk about this as one scenario at the moment. How much can the user spend monthly? That is the first thing that we're looking at. And let's say the user is willing to spend about $300 a month. That's the current bandwidth that he or she is willing to spend on it. And then the user is going to click on go. So what I'm showing you is the navigation, which is part of your functionality. You, as part of this testing team belonging to this project, need to be a master and expert at how this whole functionality works. You need to know exactly what it does, where it does, and so on. Once you've entered the ideal price range, your monthly commitment that you could put, you are entering your zip code. Depending on the zip code that you enter, your market finance may get calculated. What's going to be a rate around the area that you live. All right. This is already the amount that we entered in the last page. And then when we clicked on go, we came to this page, which is giving us further details on what to do. Okay. Now the user has entered zip code, updated it, and now he or she can select a tenure. Let's say that he's a little optimistic and he says he wants to close it in 36 months instead of stretching it across. But what does that mean? What it means is, when we calculate, it is going to take a combination of all of these values to arrive at what could be the budget overall. What kind of a car or vehicle is this user eligible or will fall in the total budget for him, right? So let's say that we stick with 60 months just as an example. And the third option here is, what is it that, do I already have a car that I think I can trade it in? And let's say the dealership is ready to pay about $2,000 for my current vehicle, which is a little old one. Okay. And I don't own anything as a trade-in on that. So that's as is at zero. So we leave this at zero. And we have handy cash of about, let's $3,500 that we want to spend. At the end, what the user is going to do is click on the calculate button. All right. So when we click on the calculate button, what you would see is that after a few seconds of wait, the total down payment that we have decided to put in, which is like $5,500, and what we're getting for the old car, and what can be my total price range for my vehicle based on what I've entered, is this value. Depending on that, I can then get as to what fits into that segment. A little under if I want to be conservative, a little over if I want to be a little optimistic and go a little over my budget. What kind of a vehicles would fall? So here is a simple functionality. Now, what is your role? Your role is to be number one, a master at this. Whenever the application goes through a change, and let's say as part of this next steps, and they come up with a new feature which is hottest deal for this, buy now, today only, kind of an offer. Just giving an example. At that time, what happens? The developers are working on this new functionality. They're changing this page to get that fixed in. While doing that, anything could have gone wrong. This could have got corrupted. This is starting to show something different from what is expected. There's so many other things or web services happening in the background which is not giving you the correct results and so on. Now it is your duty to see after the development has completed the job to test before the end users start to use. Make sure that there is an error-free to the maximum possible product or a service which is going to the end user. All right. Now that's the intent team. Very quickly, the reason I focus so much on the functionality is end of the day, you and I, if we are never great automation or even manual test engineers if we don't know the functionality well. Right now, whatever we have planned to do, let's say that I have put that as a high level in terms of what are the steps. So typically, how do you then test this application? You're going to open the browser. You will go to that specific application URL, which belongs to your functional area. You will start to enter the values into the application. Then you click on the calculate go button on first page, or rather, let's say that process the loan application. Okay. Then we'll capture the results. All right, finally, we're going to capture the results. We will compare the result and finally close the browser. This is at a very, very high level, a very simple presentation of what we would do as manual test engineers, right? So if I document this, and let's say you have a new person joining in your team who's just joined, and she would like to perform what exactly you're doing, then you can share this sheet with that your peer who's joined in, and they are able to understand at a high level what needs to be done. You've given them an overview and said that these are the steps, please follow it, right? Now, what tends to be very important is, cool, I can enter values, but do you want me to enter specific values? Can I go into monthly payment that I'm affording and say that 5, is that a correct value? Or let's say, how about 35,000, is that a correct value? Or are they out of range? So you need to be able to define that, great, yes, we want to test this, but there is a range of values. Let's say we start with 200 as my monthly payment, okay? And then each time I increase this by, let's say, about 25. Why am I changing these values? I want to see if I am the owner as a QA analyst for this application. Is my application stable for every different type of user? Different users may come in, they may enter different types of numbers, combinations of zip codes and interest rates and so on. And is the application still working? So trying to change your parameters or the data which is driving this test is going to decide in a long run. We will go to something called as a data-driven automation framework gradually in the next few sessions. But for today, we're not talking about QTP yet. We're going to get into it very shortly. So you will enter certain data and keep a record that, okay, great, let's enter some monthly payment. Let's enter some standard zip codes, a few terms, rates, different combinations of them, of all the inputs possibly that we are taking for that. Finally, I know that what is my total down payment that I was willing to make, what was my range of cars that I'll get, and there's a TMV value which is very specific, or a trademark with Edmunds, I believe. Finally, at the end of it, I wish to see if are these the results that we got from the application correct or not. All right, what is the quick summary? You're going to go perform the steps, make sure that you work on a defined set of data so that you know exactly that for this set of data, this is the ones I got and the result is a pass or the result is a fail. All right, that's your approach. Now, why do I need a tool to automate this process? Let's say you start off on day one and you're absolutely all pumping up, geared up, saying that this is my first day on my first new job, and let me get started. So you start working, you start entering it. Fair enough. 12, 13 records, all good. But once you start doing the next 25 records, you see getting a little tired, a little dizzy about things, because it's the same repetitive process. Read the values from the cell, go to the application, put it there, click next, take other value, put it there, continue to do the same process. Now, is there a shorter way where I could create something that is more efficient in terms of that? If I am taking, let's say, 5 hours to complete the end-to-end testing of this application for 20 sets of data or 10, whatever, can I do something which can do the same in half an hour or even lesser? Or even 2 hours? I've still saved 3 hours of work, right? Is that a possibility? And that's what we're trying to evaluate at the moment. Great, but what about next month when my application goes through another change? Then what do I do? Can I reuse it? That's your next target. All this is fine, but what if it is the tool which we use to automate is not accurate enough that, and I am manually doing better job? Then what? The third one is your accuracy of the tool that automates. As long as you know that it is efficient and it can be reused and it gives you an accurate result, then you know for sure this is a good candidate to automate. But how to automate, what to do, what is automation, what tool? And a great answer for over a decade now has been your tool called HP Quick Test Professional. One of the predominantly greatest features of the tool has been the ability to capture and understand what a user does and be able to repeat the same. What do I mean by that? One of the most standard and most oftenly used and over used thing at a beginner level is the record feature. What is my record feature? Let me quickly show you a sample. All right. Let's not worry about anything else. Let's just jump into QTP straightforward. Team, I'm going to give a gap for questions in a few seconds, then we'll go for it. The first thing I'm going to do is take the URL. All right. Just look at what are the steps that I'm performing. I've taken the URL. I've launched HP Quick Test Professional. At this point, I see a startup page. Don't worry about anything. Just go File, New, Test. Okay. What is a test? Why are these called tests? We will come to it. First, I need to know what is this tool going to do? How is it going to work? Second thing, go to automation and click on record and run settings. Do you see this? All these are your menu items, just like you would see in any other type of a Windows or any other operating system application. They've got different features. We will explore most of them, but primarily we'll focus on a few things which is most important. VB scripting and frameworks, we'll come to them. Now, as soon as I open it, by default, you would see here is the view for a web-based application. We're not worried about Windows at the moment. If you have other add-ins, we're not worried about that. We are on Web tab. Under Web tab, the first thing I'm going to do is click on this, open the following address when a record or run session begins. All right. The instruction I'm giving to QTP as a tool at this point is that QTP, whenever I do a record, what is it? We don't know yet. Whenever I do a run, what is it? Not yet. Open this URL, but in which browser? Microsoft Internet Explorer. That's what I am identified for now. All right. At the end, just keep them as is. It shouldn't matter too much at the moment. Okay. But make sure you have your IE browsers, or if you're using a Firefox browser, in that case, close them before you do it. I'm on IE. I don't have an IE browser open. I'm good. I'm going to say apply. Okay. Now, after I say apply and say okay, I will start the process of record. Do you see this red button? That's going to initiate the whole engine behind QTP. At this point, as soon as I hit record, your whole application changed. There is something called as an active screen, a short small window here. I've moved into a view called expert view, and I started doing record. Do you see this red blinking? It says now it is recording. What QTP is telling us at this point, this tool which we are saying that will automate and solve our problem of E, R, and A, is that it is ready to learn whatever we are going to perform now on this launched Internet Explorer browser. What are the steps that we did typically when we did it first time when we had an overview of this application? We went to this application, we clicked on this field out here and we entered, how much was it we entered? 300, I guess, right? Or 200, I believe. Correct? And then I am hitting tab where I come to go. But as soon as I did that, a new line of code got generated. Do you see this? Now let's click on go. As soon as you click go, another line of code gets generated. Now let's go and change the zip code to something else. I'm going to say 10012, which I believe is a zip code somewhere in the East Coast. If not wrong, New York or New Jersey. No offense, guys, just because I'm not aware of that zip code there. But someone gave it to me earlier in one of the practice sessions. So team, once I've done this, now I'm going to say update zip code. I've entered the text. I didn't hit a tab and I said update zip code. Now I see 2 lines of something getting generated. What are these? These are VB script statements which we're going to master very soon. I already got 300 which I entered from there. Good. Let's select 72 months instead of 60 months. And let's say that my finance rate with my better looking credit, which I don't know how it is today, is 5.99. I'm going to hit tab, move further. So what I'm trying you to observe, team, is as you perform these steps, you see that something is getting generated. QTP is trying to understand and learn something, and that ability to learn as we teach that tool is what makes it very special. So now I'm going to say 2,500. Okay, down payment, let's say another 1,500. I'm just putting values. I'm not really interested in the real data at this point. I'm more like evaluating. Can click on calculate. All right. Now, after I've clicked on calculate, what happens? The application would have shown some values here. Great. So some values shown here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say stop. As soon as I said stop, what QTP has done is it has stopped now to do anything else in terms of learning. Your learning, QTP has stopped. You are the instructor for this tool. The better and the more crisp and clear instructions you give, that is how it's going to perform. So now you said stop learning, stop recording what I do. So for example, if you go here and I change it to 55,000, I don't expect anything to happen on my screen here. Do you see anything happening? Or recalculate, I don't see anything happening out here. It is no longer bothered about it. So that's our beginning and ending of the first type of a record. Now, what QTP has done primarily is that on each step, it has generated a code. Whatever we performed, it generated a code. Okay. Now, what you could do when you did a record, and team, I'm letting you know, this record feature is something which is not something we ideally should work with, because you and I today are looking at the market. There are it's a very, very, very competitive testing market, no question about it. More importantly, there are too many people applying for the same type of jobs, and a lot of them basically come with record, and that's why you will see a lot of recruiters saying that unless you know VB scripting or you can work with complex descriptive programming or frameworks, do not apply. That is what we'll focus. 1 or 2 days just to get an overview, record. After that, we will switch immediately and start going into how we understand and master what is getting generated, and we ourselves try and write this code. Okay, but let's take our baby steps initially. Now, go to the view part. So what we did, we went to file, we said new test, we did a record, sorry, we went to automation, record and run settings, record, perform the steps, we got a zip. Before I do anything else, there's something called as a save. Just like your Word document, you have created a change in something, right? Now you save it. So what I'm doing is I'm taking this, I'm going to put it into a new folder that I created in my system called C:/QTP/S22, representing our current batch, September 22. Open that, and in here, what was the application? Edmonds, right? So Edmonds _1 and says save. How does it save? Where does it save? Don't worry too much, but you will see as soon as you hit the save, a folder getting generated. If you open the folder, there are many files within it. Ignore these files. Let's just focus on the UI part. Now that you've saved, can we document the steps so that we remember it? The art of documentation is very important. It's a process that you have to follow. The reason is very simple. Tomorrow, you will not remember what exactly you did yesterday. All right. So once you keep this documentation, you are able to do the same things repeatedly over and over every time your application needs to be tested out. Okay. Plus, when you put your thoughts in a document or even a piece of paper, it becomes very clear what is it that we wish to achieve. Okay. Now, I'm going to unhide a few rows that I'd hidden before and say that now here are the steps that we did to automate it. So we opened QTP, we opened a new test, we started the record process, and before the record process, uh, we had a small another step, right? So let's include that. Why not? 2.1, which is between 2 and 3, and say update record and run settings. So team, each of you will have the video anyway, so you can always go back and review and practice on what we do. You can repeat these videos 24/7 multiple times, and it should be good from there. All right. So we did an update on the record and run settings. Then we started the record process by clicking on that. We manually performed the above steps that we mentioned here. We stopped the record. We saved the test. I didn't run the test yet. Now, what we have done to QTP is that we said QTP, learn what I do, what we did, and now repeat it. Okay. Let's try and do something called as a run, which is the next but the most important thing. Record can be eliminated, but run is never a thing which is eliminated. This is finally the output of all that we did in terms of teaching QTP what it needs to do. When I click on run, it will give me something called as a run, and it says results folder. Team, the whole training is split into two things. 90% of it is going to be focused on a thing called as automation, which is all about scripting, learning the tool, advanced programming, descriptive programming, frameworks, and so on. The remaining 10% of the focus is the actual testing component, okay, where we are then finally getting to a stage where we can say that, okay, this application is failing here. Developers, please go fix this. That is a very small component. Most part of our initial life in this training is going to be all around mastering the art of automation, which is what you and I are here today. All right. The remaining very little effort, which is basically once we know how to master it, testing is just 3-4 lines of code here and there as to what to do now if it fails. Till then, the reason I mentioned is select the second one, which is temporary run results folder. Even after that, we will get to such a level of coding that we don't need run results. We don't need what QTP will show as results. Forget about everything in that. We will do all at maximum things at a script level. Okay. So what I meant is when you click on run, select temporary run results folder. What happens if you do new run results folder? Nothing. But the only problem is that every time you click on run, it will go and create a new folder inside what test you created, and it'll start making our files large and large and large, which is not needed. All right, team. So I'm going to select temporary run results folder and click on OK. When I click on OK, let us see what's happening now. Browser launched. Did I do anything? No. And it seems to be navigating, performing a lot of things quickly. Done. All done on this application. So what happened is QTP, what I took probably a few dozen seconds, like a minute or so, it took hardly a few seconds, 2 or 3 seconds to complete the whole process. All right. Now, did it do correctly or not is our first priority. QTP, did you actually do what I asked you to do? Did you learn everything correctly or not? The first thing that we're going to do to let QTP go a little more slower in each of this is I'm assuming that each user step that we performed during record was one line of code. So between each lines of code, I will go physically and do something. I will ask QTP and say a command called as wait and say wait 2 seconds. What this wait 2 means is I am saying QTP, looks like you're doing everything, but between the first step that you recorded when the user performed an action to the next one where you probably clicked on a button or something, I don't even know what this step means at the moment. We'll come to it. Wait for 2 seconds. That is a command, and that's your VB scripting team. All right. What is wait? Between step 1 and step 2 then, which is now step 3 or line 3. If you see here, we are saying wait 2 seconds. How do you know what this wait is? Now you know it. Now you know what it is. But once I do a run, you will be able to better understand it. When you practice, you'll be mastering it. This is how we will learn a few concepts each day, apply it. When you practice it, you master it. Keep working with me, keep practicing with me, team, and you will master this tool very easy. It's a great tool. It's an interesting tool. It is really fun to work with, and it is not a complex tool like people assume. I mean, anything is not complex once you learnt it, but I know for sure because so many people work with me every month on this training, right? Now, the same thing, I'll say weight. In this case, let's say weight 3, just experimenting around. Another art of doing things is, can I experiment? Can I do something different from what is already there? Okay, weight 4. How about again putting another weight statement? See, playing around this way with this code, slowly, eventually will get us to where we want. If team, you see that I am going at a faster pace, then please go and repeat this. If you think I'm going slower, then I am trying to deliberately go slower because these are the fundamental foundation blocks. As a right, I'm speaking all this because I like to give you messages. I like to interact a lot with you guys this way, which is mostly one way at the moment. We'll come to some questions shortly. Now, I changed what QTP did initially, correct? So I changed. Now, what happens if this application, just like any other software thing, crashes, stops working, and all my changes are gone? Let's save it. Why to be doubtful about it? So I'm going to say save. Okay. How to save, how to open a new test. Do it a few times. You'll automatically understand. First time I've shown you. Second time, if you have a question, repeat the video. Third time, you got to keep doing it for a few times and you've mastered already on that. Okay. Now, why did I do all this? I did it because when I click on run and I showed you temporary run results and click on OK, I want QTP to go little more slower so that as the steps are happening, and can you see this? It's green running. You can clearly see if it is doing it. See, it's entering the values. It is probably clicking on the buttons. It is waiting. See, it's waiting for, waiting 1, and so on. Team, can everyone hear me okay? Did anyone lose my audio suddenly? Okay, I heard one okay, and I heard many no. I don't know, no. Okay, let's see. A quick second, team. You can hear. Okay, looks like everyone can hear. JJ, you're using your telephone, I guess. That's the reason. Okay, so you got to check it your end, please. So team, the same thing done, but the result we achieved by introducing that wait statement, which is simple English, wait space 2 or wait space 3, is we are instructing QTP wait between each of the steps before you move forward. All right. So now what we are doing is we are customizing and playing around with this test. Team, at this point, any questions that I can handle? Please start. Do not raise your hands right away. If you have a question, use the chat to put it in there. All right. Because most instances, there are common questions. Okay. Do you think I'm fast or slow at the moment? Okay. JJ, you're back. I'm glad. Okay. Which is good answer. I'm happy with that. Okay. I'm fast. Okay, Cindy, thank you. Ready, slow. See, good, but okay. I have one question. Okay. So basically, team, as I told you, you got to work with me in adjusting it. When I speak too much English, I'll speak fast. When I'm trying to focus and emphasize on a specific concept, which I'm introducing new, when I said wait, then I try and modulate my voice and go a little more slower, all right? But please, you also have access to the videos for 200 days after each session, so you can go back and practice them, okay? When wait statement is written, is it in seconds? Yes. So what is this 2? Is this minutes or is this seconds? It is seconds. And how can we know? We will come to tomorrow to something called as your good friend while you're working with it. Okay. That is called your F1 key on your keyboard. With my cursor on wait, if I hit my F1, actually we'll talk about it today, why tomorrow. It will open up the QTP help manual. We are doing everything practically. You're seeing what I'm doing. You'll try and replicate the same practice on it. But at the same time, there are definitions, there are concepts that are already defined for it, which have exactly the same meaning if you read it or I read it or anyone reads it, right? And those definitions, those are available in your QTP inbuilt help. All you have to do is go on the specific area which you have a question and say F1. What it will do is it will open up the help manual and show you a definition on that. And it will tell you exactly as to what it does. Your wait command, like we used here, is used to wait between a few lines of code, which is explained in the same different manner of English out here. And you provide the number of seconds you want to wait in here. All right. I need to measure the time a site takes after. Okay, so team, another thumb rule is that while each of you come from a different background, I will entertain all questions, whatever have been covered so far in the training from the day one to now. When you have additional questions and you're in a hurry, you can always use this so active Google group in QTP eLearn and just go with it, please. Okay. So, but the question, just to let you know, Cindy, that's your question. You need to measure the time a site takes after clicking on the calculate button. There is a code that starts with an E followed by brackets. How is that used? Okay. I don't know what you're referring to, Cindy, but I know that QTP comes with two things. Team, just ignore what I'm going to say for a few seconds. Okay. One is everything that can be done with a lot of things that can be done at this menu bar level, like checkpoints, useless in the real world. Okay. Start transaction, end transaction, useless again in the real world. Function definition generated, useless. Step generated, useless. Conditional statement, useless. Why? All of these things, team, you and I will master how we're going to do it at script level. If I want to measure how much a time has gone between line 3 now and line 5 now, I have simple things inbuilt here called start transaction, and I give some name here, and I copy the same thing and just change it to end transaction. Okay, just giving a quick diversion. All right, to give you an overview what you can do. It will perform, it will calculate how long this step took between this click and coming out of it or before going to the next one. I can, but that will get shown in something called as a test results in different place. But we can do something like, I'll take and say my start time S1 equals timer. This will return something called as number of seconds in today's date from 12 a.m. okay, in the day. And then I do the same thing at the end and say my S2 equals timer. It will return the current. When I subtract the values of my S2 minus my S1, this will give me the result which has total seconds. And that is more customized at a script level, which I can take and capture and use in a different manner. This optional, good to know, but not must to know. This must to know, because that's where your programming skill comes, and that's what we will focus on, team. Okay, so just Cindy, to give you a quick snapshot, but team, let's stick with the thumb rule. We'll go with it. Do we have PDF of this help file? I don't think I have PDF, because Sham, I never really used it as a PDF, but it is always available with your tool itself. Is QTP 11 compatible with Windows 7? I've not started extensively working with QTP 11. I'm more comfortable with QTP 10 at the moment, because QTP 11 does have additional features, but most of my tests are already predominantly significantly running with QTP 10, so it's going. We will explore some of those features. I've already experimented on it. Nothing big or nothing phenomenally different like we had from 9 to 10 with QTP 11. But yes, I believe it's compatible with Windows 7. Okay. Now, QTP 10 is compatible with both Windows Vista and Windows 7, and of course with Windows XP. But there are setting changes that you need to. Those will be provided as part of your welcome pack, team. Is QTP records only on IE, or can it record on any browser? So predominantly QTP has been built for IE as a browser. Okay. It can also do certain things not in this very similar fashion on Firefox, and there are challenges with Firefox. It cannot do anything else on the other browsers, unfortunately. And hence, you'll see a lot of growth towards tools like the Selenium test automation, which is open source. There is no license, and it is cross-browser. It can test multiple browsers. Plus, it can do WebDriver, which is a new, WebDriver testing on mobile-based application browsers like iPhone driver browser, Android browser, and so on. So those will pick up speed, but QTP predominantly has a large portion of the market, very popular, still very successful in the market. It will continue to have that foothold. All right. Okay, let's see. Vivek, anything about, please do not discuss on the batch and payments on here. Please avoid putting them in the chat also. Where do I download QTP? Devin, you can go to hp.com and start working from there, or I will be able to assist you as part of the welcome pack. Okay. My S1, my S2 are variables. We will come to parameterizations variables a little later. That was just a quick diversion when I put those to show you how we should be doing. Okay. Please, Karthik, put wait 5 when you talk. Thank you, Raja. Yeah. See, what I'm trying to do. I'll go a little more closer. I'll go a little more slower with my speech. Okay. Can it be used with Chrome? No, Arvind. how efficient is QTP with Adobe Flex? It is efficient. It has, you need an add-on, but that's again a irrelevant question for a current thing. Please again QC training, Vivek, please, irrelevant. Not able to see what you're doing. Ritesh, you need to probably log in back. All right, so good. Let's continue with the remaining part of the session very quickly, and then we will continue with some more advanced things tomorrow. Now, what is this? What is this? How can we understand this? There are two fundamental main parts of any automation. Any automation, two main fundamental things, okay? What is it that you want to do, and where is it that you want to do? Very simple. How do you and I interact with anything on your computer? You have only two ways of input, right? You have a keyboard and you have a mouse, right? You can type, that is the what part. You can click, that is the what part. You can see if something is there or not, that is the what part. Where do you type? On your username field. Where do you type? On your password field. Where do you click? On the sign in field. What do you see? Your emails, right? Your type, click, enter text, seeing what is being displayed are the what part, okay? Your username, password, buttons, links, your emails, whatever you see, text, your bank account balance, all this are the where part. Where are you seeing? What are you trying to do on that then? Every statement that is related with an object on that you see currently here is broken into those two things. This vertical line is the separation. Let's say this is the what we want to do, and this is the where we want to do whatever we want to do, okay? This where part is addressed through the what you see before this vertical line that I drew here. The what part is addressed through what you see to the right side of the vertical line that you see here. All right, that is how QTP is doing. As we continue to perform manual steps, it is trying to learn what is it that I'm trying to, where I'm trying to do something, and then what is it that I'm trying to do. All right. For example, when it says browser something, .page something, .web edit it is referring to a specific edit field where you can enter something in that specific location in the page. How does it know exactly to go to that edit field, or instead of entering it username, won't it enter in password? How does it know? That's the details what we will get to when we get to something called as an object repository. Okay. This set as a method team is nothing but it takes whatever we give here and put it into this field. Does it mean that if I go here and instead of 300, I say 321, which is, let's say, my lucky number, will it take this value and put it? Oh, is this my zip code? Can I just say 91367? Can I change this from 72 months to 48 months here? Can I change whatever to the right side here from to 6.99? Most of it, yes. Now what I'm saying is, QTP, you've learned the basics. Now let me give you a different task. Let me say in some things and see if you can perform it. And that's your experimentation. Now, when I save this and I run this, let us see if it does that. Okay, let us see if it does what we said. Will it take 3 to 1? There you go. It took 3 to 1 and then waited, click. Will it enter 91367? Perfect. Now it is waiting for 4. Then see, as it runs, this yellow line is progressing on each step that it thinks it needs to perform. It has mastered the art of learning. Now it is repeating whatever we ask it to do. And it is predominantly able to perform almost all the steps we have told with some changes that we're making. Your ability to not only customize these steps, but also to write this whole logic is very important. That's what we will get to. Okay. So we've learned that these values are being picked up from here. Great. But how do I know it is going to that? There is a very simple inbuilt tool, which is again becomes very predominantly non-used in the real-time industry. is something called as an active screen. If you go to view, you can check different things that you would like to see when you're working with QTP, and when you do what you don't like, you can uncheck it. I'm mentioning about active screen, so I'm going to check this. When I check this, you will see this background, gray background, with that chemical beakers and the test tubes kind of a thing that you would see in a chemistry lab as a background. Now, when I go and click on line 1, what? It didn't capture anything. That's okay. It's not an important feature that I could have eliminated either way. But typically what happens, team, is whenever you do a simple record on any application, what QTP does is it captures a screenshot to show you where in that application did it perform. If this is such a useful feature as it looks like, then don't you think it is used in the industry? Not necessarily, because I have other things called as object spy. I have things called as highlight in application tools as you go deeper into these object repositories. Okay. Now, the other fundamental concept which we will master a little more practically is that I mentioned that this is the where portion, correct? Where does QTP need to do something? Now, details of this where, what is this browser.page.webedit are all stored in a place called as object repository. We're going to go extensively work on that tomorrow. Okay. And that what this method, it need not store anywhere. It is as is. Team, can everyone hear me? All right, team, can you hear me back now? All right, so there was a rare sudden drop of my internet connection for a few seconds, but I'm glad I'm back. Okay. Now, so team, as further part of this learning that we're trying to get into is that, so there are some fields. Someone was asking me, what is the set open quotes end quotes? Why is it not doing anything? What it meant is I tried to go there and delete whatever was there, and that it captured and it said open quotes end quotes. Open quotes end quotes inside when there's nothing, that means that you're entering nothing into it. But how are we entering? What is that what part called set? We will come to it. But a quick guide is an F1 key which will take us there. We will come to these methods. Now, let's experiment around it. The best way to learn anything is experimenting till we master the art of, but at the same time with something in a very structured way of experimenting. Now, how did QTP go and let's say put some value in this field called monthly? Not sure. Okay. Now, why did it click on this go? Why didn't QTP go and click on this go? How does it know that it has clicked on this part of the go and not this? How does QTP know that once we go in with something entered into it, let's say go, then how did it know that update zip code? Do you see update zip code here, team? I see the word update zip code in here, and that's how it's probably identified. How did it go and say click on this update zip code? But I still don't know. I'm trying to think like you would as a beginner. I'm assuming most of you are beginner, team. That's where I'll start with, right? I didn't know how it identified go among many goes, but I do know that update zip code seems to be very unique here. Now it knows. Now I know that it is identifying this where using some of this text that we see here. Calculator, how much car. Something is there in this application, which is that calculator, how much car. Somewhere it's picking up these things. Fair, good. So we're getting closer to mastering this tool now. Now, let's say, did I click on select trade in? I want to add this new thing where I can go and say select trade in. After I enter my finance rate, where is it that I entered 6.99? There you go, here, right? Now, let's say I want to write something very similar. I will copy this whole thing, okay? And instead of update zip code that we saw, actually I'll copy this thing. Why copy that thing? I'll copy this because this is saying something called set, but this is saying click. I want it to click, right? That what part seems more logical here. Instead of update zip code that it picked up here, let's say select trade in. I'm going to write select trade in. Is that exactly what it is? Caps and small, and I believe VB scripting is somewhat case sensitive. I mean, it's not very case sensitive, so robust about it. So let's experiment. Now I will save this as, oops. I don't need to save it with the resource files. Save as _2. Now what I did is basically that I have saved a different version of it. As I'm continuing to make changes, I'm trying to keep versions of it. Okay. Now what I'm doing is I'm trying to get creative and experiment around and understand how this tool works. The reason I'm doing this is to let you know and realize what is actually happening in the backend. Okay, team, I'm almost at the end of the session. It's 7:59, but I want to show a run out here. So I've saved it now with a different version, and we will run again on temporary run and see what happens. Very exciting to see how QTP would recognize it, and I'll be in fact more surprised if it works correctly. I expect it not to at this moment, which is what I'm trying to get to. Let's see. So update zip code. Does it do update zip code? I think it already did. Now enter 6.99. Yes. Now we are trying to wait, and there you go. So team, remember this very, very, very well. We will start from here tomorrow. This is your next biggest tutor, your friend. It is not your enemy that you will face. The better you try and know your friend, the better you are towards mastering and getting into that dream job or succeeding in where you're already in. Okay, run errors. The more you know how to handle this, the more you know about the tool, the better you are at everything. Right? That's what we're going to focus tomorrow when we start off and identify how we can further customize and move forward. All right, team. At this point, I know it's already 8. As long as it is not related with the payments or the training, please feel free to, and it's related with what we're doing with QTP so far today, please feel free to ask. Anything else, please put it in the email. Email, Devin. Team, any other questions to what we did today? I'm gonna keep this video, it gets converted, takes an hour and probably another hour and a half or so to upload, and then I will send this video from an uploaded location to each of you. Okay, you can watch it, repeat it. Team, any other questions, please? All right, team. Thank you so much for joining in, and we'll see you back on Monday. There's no next class tomorrow. I want to give gap for everyone to settle in, and we'll see you back on Monday. Then take care, and we'll communicate with you on emails. We'll take it forward from there. All right. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Bye for now, and have a great weekend. Bye, everyone.